aliens and that like um
I don't understand how people could get caught up in stuff like that, to where they just believe utter nonsense and then reinforce that belief themselves. Because they do get to a point to where they start continuing the brainwashing on their themselves.
I
like
think
well, you
with
know,
what you
whenever
just
they all
said,
went to prison, right? Them women, when they went to prison, they had to put them all together.
Hmm.
They had to live together. And like in the documentary it was talking about how like they brought them together because they at first they separated them, but they weren't getting much from them. But when they brought them together and they started talking and filling them in on everything that transpired,
Mm.
they talked about so much. And that's what led them to convict him the way that they did. And it wasn't purposeful. They didn't purposefully like tell on him. They kind of like were telling their story. Oof.
I think, you know how you mentioned you don't know how they get like this? I think that brings about another conversation piece of I think when it comes to emotional abuse, mental, physical abuse, um, they choose their victims.
Mm-hmm. Oh
They're
yeah, for sure.
strategic
Okay.
about
So
the
they have,
ones who are intentional,
mhm.
um, are strategic about who who would be a good victim.
Like who's recessive or
Well, have you
Who
ever
has
watched any of like the documentaries on Ted Bundy and Charles Manson?
I have
I have
also
too.
I you know Harvey Weinstein, R. Kelly, all those type of like they are specific about who they choose.
Like
the
Ted
R.
Bundy.
Kelly situation is weird because it's like I guess the parents were involved too.
Yeah, on the R. Kelly.
Yeah, that one's weird because it's like, how do you willingly submit your daughter to this man? You know what I mean?
Money will buy you anything you
So
want.
if you get a person where they're vulnerable, they
Mhm.
Mhm,
got financial problems, and you can get them out those financial problems. They
mhm.
might be a likely victim to whatever you're trying to
Mhm.
do.
That's the same thing that whether we like it or not, that's the same thing that Michael Jackson did.
Big
He
time.
sent
Michael
his
Jackson was
family.
guilty.
He wasn't guilty by he was never guilty in a court of law. But we all know, we all know. I ain't stupid.
I mean, because they investigated this man for a solid decade and didn't find anything.
He was
Can I
one
just
of
tell
the
you that he was a genius?
he was very, very, very rich and very powerful.
And he was, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
he did buy the Beatles, so and half of Sony,
Okay, and we're talking about a
all
man
of
who would
Motown.
stand on stage and people passed out voluntarily. He will put on a glove and niggas is screaming.
Do the same.
Grown men are screaming.
TD Jakes do the same thing. Now let me stop.
TD Jakes.
I'm
Is that
just
what
teasing.
you said?
Let me tell
Yeah,
you.
I'm just
So
teasing.
let me just tell you. So whether we like it or not, Michael did the same thing. He took these families that were in need of medical assistance to save their children. And
Medical,
right,
financial. They have
right.
some kind of void. They see that predator sees the void.
I
So
don't
that makes
care.
the parents just as guilty.
You're right. Oh, I'm not knocking the parent. I'm not knocking the parent. I'm not making any type of justification for the parent
I'm
whatsoever. But what I'm
financial
saying is when
issues in the
when these
world.
people
Ain't no
find
way
their victims,
I'm pimping out my sons.
right, right. And
He so they basically pimp out the whole family, like or they traumatize and
Mm.
victimize the whole entire family.
Mhm. Like, okay,
Or like if they know that that kid or that person has been sexually violated, they
Mm,
know that that person is a potential victim again. Or if they know you're emotionally traumatized or weak, they know they can emotionally abuse you again. You know,
mhm.
they
so
know.
okay, so for you, Sherelle, when I read the when I watched the documentary on Ted Bundy used to pick his victims um based on like the conversations he had with them. He felt if he felt like he can manipulate you, uh, he would. And if he felt like he couldn't get over on you on just that initial conversation, they're very intelligent people, which is what I've always wanted to do in my life was study serial killers and the whys. Why did you pick them? Why did you do what you did? Why did you kill her the way that you did? Why did you um say the things that you did? Why did you go to a certain place? I wanted to always know the whys. So um reading up on and watching these documentaries on him, like, he picked women who were weak-minded. And when he said weak-minded, meaning women that he could easily manipulate. uh, Very charming. He was a very charming gentleman. He was also very good looking. um, and most people who fall for physical attraction more than the knowing the individual, those are what he said he considered the weak-minded. They never saw anything deeper than the skin. So um then he had said, like the one woman that initially stayed with him the whole time, which was one of his victims that he never killed. It was not his wife. His wife ended up divorcing him and leaving with the kids. But the woman that stayed, that was intrigued by him, he never wanted her sexually. He never desired her in that way. She tried to help him um, get off of his out of his charges, and he never sexually wanted her ever. And he stated because she was too strong-minded. It was somebody that he could never manipulate or tell any lie to, and she would believe. Like, I was like, wait, what? He said he couldn't get off on that.
Hmm.
I was like, man, I feel like if I ever slept with Ted Bundy, I feel like a complete idiot. I was like, man, but no, he never, like, even like everything. Like, I was watching like the one documentary that they had with him, and like how she did everything for this man. She put up money, cars, her life savings, she moved to where he was at, where he was imprisoned at, like everything. And he never loved her that way. And he told her that. And she didn't care. I was like,
Hmm.
girl, what is wrong with you? Like,
You
yeah.
know what's another story of like abuse, like emotional abuse, I guess, or emotional. I think, and this is very like light, but like when I think of Batman and Joker, like he's manipulating Batman. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to kill Batman. He just wants to make him crazy because he
Get
gets off
underneath his skin.
on making him crazy and
Mhm.
get under the skin and make him. He wants to make him do things that he doesn't really want to do. He wants to make him kill people. He wants to just do it off of. Just he gets off on trying to make Batman crazy. and he's emotionally abusive.
I mean, Batman, I mean, if we're gonna go on that subject, Batman is just as bad as Joker. Because
Okay.
I've listened to one person give their opinion on YouTube, and it made a lot of sense. Because Bruce Wayne has enough money. He has neighborhood changing level amount of money. But instead, he puts on a costume and goes beats up people for his own therapy. You know what I mean? So that right there is a psychopath in itself, and I think Joker is aware of that. You know what I mean?
I'm here for that. I'm here for that.
Because it's like if Bruce Wayne really wanted to clean up Gotham, all he has to do is gentrify the place. That's all he has to do. But instead, he just beats up people. You know, what I mean? Circumvents the law for his own therapeutic reasons.
I'm here for it. That's funny. I really love Lego Batman because it really plays off their relationship with each other.
Mhm.
It makes it like it's almost like they have a romantic relationship, but they don't. But Joker's conversing with Batman as if they do. Like, you
Mhm.
know, you need me. I'm your favorite villain. Like,
Right.
like you need me. We're us. We're a duo. Like we're like we need each other. Like he's
You know
just
what you have to watch
and
if you
Batman's like he's like I'm seeing other criminals. Like
if you want to get deep into the psychology of Batman and Joker, you need to watch the animated movie The Killing Joke.
hmm
Look that up. That's a really good film, and the way it ends is really telling too.
I'm gonna have to check it out. It's a Batman Robin one. I mean a Batman Joker one.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's all animated, but it's definitely on the rated R side of things. So it's not like your WB type of cartoon. You know what I mean?
Okay. I feel it. I feel it. Any final thoughts on emotional abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse?
I feel that
When it comes to all those kind of things, just run.
I feel that um our generation dealt with a lot of emotional abuse. Um and we really don't talk about that within the Black community. Um
Mm,
our kids deal with a lot of our trauma, and we throw our trauma out there more in our emotional abuse aspect. Um and it's not talked about,
mhm.
which you know holds a lot of weight. We're
Why do
for
you feel like our generation has more?
Because we are I feel we're in that in between gen. We're the millennials, so we're in that in between where it was back in the day, do as I say, not as I do.
Mhm.
Parent grow up where they were physically abused in a lot more ways than we even know.
Mhm.
Um, and they were emotionally abused in society. Um, and they got both aspects of it. And I think a lot of what they grew up with is their parents were trying to eliminate them running into that social emotional abuse in society, by kind of like beating that slave mentality, beating into us the right or wrong. And it kind of like, their parents beat them because, there are our grandparents and their parents seen slavery. They were in that time of that. So then it kind of just like washed down to our parents
Mhm.
from, generation to generation now to them. And then to us, we received not so much. We received the physical, but not as much, I feel, as the emotional that we got, which kind of put us in a bad realm. Which also, I think, which kind of shifted our now society where we got away from that, you know, um, punishment by like, a whooping.
Mhm.
Now we're more into like timeout. Let's talk about it. And we're seeing the difference in our society with our what are they called? Gen X, Generation X.
Mm.
Yeah, crazy generation.
Yeah, to
Not
kind of pick up where you left off, you're right. In the Black community, it's not talked about much. It's more joked about, really.
mhm,
Um, you've seen it in past time where comedians would just make jokes about how when they were young, they got beat with whatever their parents tripped over. Ha ha ha. You know what I mean? And and it's made up in the Black community that corporal punishment is humor, and there's something wrong with you if you never got that kind of punishment.
mhm,
But the reality is, there's a little bit wrong with all of us that did receive it, because um, it kind of made us numb to what it is to raise a child to get to a level of understanding things versus just raising a child to be in fear of things. You know what I mean?
mhm,
I feel it.
Yeah, I
mhm.
mean,
I think uh,
well, it's like, what would you rather have? A child that was raised to just um, be nothing but obedient at all costs, or a child that is raised to a level to where they have a mental awareness of who they are as a person and what value they have. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
yeah.
I think that to just kind of piggyback off what you're saying,
Hmm.
I think that like I don't, as a person who has a child, I don't feel that. I think there's a fine line between giving what is considered a maybe I'm gonna say this wrong. So my daughter knows no no.
Hmm.
That's one. Don't touch. That's two. Mommy said don't touch or I'm gonna smack your hand. Now, there's a difference from when my parents did it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It
Right.
was pow, 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 pow,
Yeah.
pow, pow.
Yeah.
You heard what I said the first time.
Mhm.
Don't do it no more.
Mhm.
there is there is never that level of critical thinking.
Yeah. There's no critical thought, no instruction. I
Right.
mean, because it's like, how often um do Black children get beat for something, not even knowing what they got beat for in the first place?
How many stories you got? Because like you said, it's funny to we comicalize it because it's like I was abused.
Like, I got cousins that got beat, and that kind of discipline didn't work for them because they felt like whatever they do, they were going to get beat for anyway.
Ooh.
And when you get in that space, it's really dangerous.
Hmm.
You start
Mm.
doing whatever you want because you don't care. You're not, and then you're not really not learning any lessons.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
it's like you
because
get
it's
scared
because
because
you're
you don't
right,
have no example of if you're doing something right or not.
right.
Hmm. I agree with that. Um, I think when it comes to like my final thought,
Mhm.
um, I agree with you guys. However, I do think that now we're in an age where we are paying more attention to the signs of emotional abuse, mental abuse. Do we take it seriously in the Black community? No, we don't.
Mm.
But I do think that there is more of a light shine on these different topics, which is a good thing. People are starting to pay attention to what a narcissist is, or maybe what gaslighting is, and you don't know about it until you hear about it, and then you start to pay attention, and then you're like, dang, I'm a victim of that. Like
Yeah, it's
um So
Notice
you
there.
can't combat it. You can
Mhm.
address what's not discussed or what you don't see. So I think there is a new wave of people paying a little more attention to these different things. You got Dr. Phil, you got Iyanla. Oprah was bringing on people to shine light on emotional and mental abuse. So I think that's a great thing, having these conversations and whatnot. Um, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I agree, Sherelle. I think we got a lot of healing, and I will continue to say it. And people don't believe me, but I feel that until we heal
Mhm.
as a people, we are not going to get what we need and want.
And we can't look for anybody else to heal us.
Mm-hmm.
We can't expect that to ever come. Just forget the whole reparations thing altogether.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's healing within ourselves that we have to do for ourselves, but then the black man and the black woman has to figure out a way to heal and
Mm-hmm.
reconcile with each other.
That's what it is. Because the way things had played out was we were harmed as a people.
Mm-hmm.
And then we turned that same harm on each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's been happening for hundreds of years. So now at this point, it's nobody
400
else's
years to be exact.
responsibility to heal us but us.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and the reality is there's no way we could get reparations anyway, because if we did, it would bankrupt the world. I mean, if you actually do the numbers, that's a lot of money. That's trillions of dollars. And it's like, let's say if the black community got trillions of dollars tomorrow, what are we gonna do with that money?
By Jordan, I'm playing.
I mean, that's
Bundle.
everybody's first reaction, but I mean,
These
for real,
wigs cost $400, $500.
it's like we're gonna get Jordans and new weaves, and you know, I mean, it's
But
like
like,
that's enough. That's enough money to start a new nation.
right.
You know what I
They would
mean?
never give us
Are
that.
we gonna look at that kind of resources to do something like that?
No. Wakanda forever.
I think we got to mention too that when it comes to emotional abuse, mental abuse, physical
Mm.
abuse, it has no race, it has no
Mhm.
gender. As we said, like Shane mentioned, being the victim of mental emotional abuse. I mentioned being a victim of it. Alicia's mentioned being a victim of it. Um, so men do it and women do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to keep our eyes open to that. All ages, races,
Mm-hmm.
genders, all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's another part of the human condition.
Hmm.
That's all it is. It's just something to be aware of, and something to work through. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
So
just
how do you work through it? Before we get off of here, we got 3 minutes.
all right. So what work through it as far as being a perpetrator or a victim?
Both.
Okay. Uh, in my opinion, to work through it being a victim is first get educated on what it is you're dealing with, because it's like you can't deal with something if you don't know what it is. And then after that, then you just have to deal with it based on what level you're at now. You know what I mean?
See, I'm gonna say this.
That's the way I can put it. As far as being a perpetrator of it, like if you find that if it's revealed that you have been doing wrong to people or to someone, usually some people, it's hard for them to take accountability that they did something horrible. I think the first response is people get defensive because nobody wants to be accused of anything, especially if it's something negative. But beyond that, if you know that you're doing something, you have to accept that you've done it and focus more on fixing the problem. Because I think just my opinion, I think learning how to solve a problem is better than focusing on trying to prove one's innocent.
Yeah.
Because trying to prove your position doesn't really accomplish anything, right or wrong, but working towards solving the problem does.
Yeah.
But if you don't feel like you have a problem,
Hmm.
it's hard to fix something you don't feel that you have.
Yeah.
So for me,
That's the accountability part.
right. So my thing is to work on the victim. So as a as a person, a lot
Hmm.
of people need to work on self-esteem,
Hmm.
self-awareness, and just self-care. You are more mentally, physically sharp on things like that. So you can catch things like that a lot easier. And I think that, like, we got to start building our youth up so that when they do deal with and come in contact with people like that, that
Hmm.
they are aware. They have that self-awareness to
Hmm.
know the difference of somebody who's harming them, because how many times have we sat and looked at somebody as like, girl, how did you not know, like, duh. But we don't realize, like, in their mind they think that this is normal because
Hmm.
they don't have that self-esteem, that self-awareness um in them. So we have to build each other, male and female, you
Hmm.
know because women can be just as toxic as men can be. So, I'm all about the self-awareness. Because nobody else, because I've am guilty of sitting back and not addressing another female in the situation that I see them in, and just saying something. And I know sometimes that can be kind of, for some people it can be kind of people don't want to do that because you don't want to be in their business. It's not really being in their business, but sometimes we don't see things and you have to bring self-awareness to them.
Yeah, I
I've
think.
lost a lot of friends that way, but I don't it didn't bother. I lost friends, family. Me and my cousin got into it because of her narcissistic, psychopathic,
Mhm.
sociopath boyfriend. And me and her were not as close as we are, but she's now self-aware. Like, you know what I mean? She has the information that she needs that I gave her that she could see. She doesn't want to believe it, but I
Mhm.
gave it to her. I know she could see it. She just don't know how to get herself out of it.
At the end of the day, right is right and wrong is wrong. And I think people, male or female, should be of the mindset to call out what's wrong and what's right. You know what I mean?
Right?
Because I know in my life, I've seen a lot of people that will allow evil things to happen to people on under the excuse that it's none of my business.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
think
that's just wrong.
if you're the perpetrator and you want to change, you gotta do therapy or some kind of rehab or whatever. You gotta deal with whatever you got going on within you that has brought you to this point. Um,
And I applaud anybody that does that.
yeah, there's actually this dude on YouTube I watched, and he said, like, I was a sociopath. And he did a whole video about what he used to do to people,
Mm.
um, how he used to treat people. He wasn't like doing anything violent, but he used to just treat people a certain kind of way.
Hmm.
Um, so just owning your stuff, being honest about that, and seeking therapy, rehab, whatever that you need to do, I think may and help to fill those voids, deal with whatever trauma you had going on, and then apologies and changed behavior
Hmm.
is what would have to be worked on. And then if you're the victim, once again, therapy, hey. Also, trying not to bottle up what is going on, because sometimes we will have it and it's swirling in our heads and we don't say anything because you think you can handle it. And then by the time you said something, it's really gone too far.
Yeah.
Um,
There's
So
many.
opening up to people, even if it's just being like, hey, yo, I need some prayer. I feel like this today, whatever, therapy. And then, like I said, I like to watch YouTube, watch movies, do audio books, whatever, on other people who might be going through what I'm going through. They'll give you ways to get out of certain situations. Or maybe you talk to an old head, somebody that's been there, done that, who can relate. So those are my thoughts.
Never mind.
Yeah.
All right, guys. This was the 30s perspective. Tonight's topic was abuse. We talked about a lot of different forms of abuse tonight. So if you find yourself in one of those situations, you can reach out. There is the Center for Victims here in Pittsburgh. You can reach out to them. They can help you. Or you can reach out to one of us. We have a couple social workers here on the line.
Hey, always
So,
open.
right, same here. So, yeah, you can reach out to one of us and we can point you in the right direction, or we could just be a listening ear to you, because we done been through some things in our
Woo,
lives.
wow.
So, all right, shout out to Shane. Shout out to Alicia.
Woo woo. Hey.
Shout out to me, Sherelle Unique. Hey. All right, this is the 30s perspective. We out.
Yeah.
Good night.